Her father was ill. Her parents were poor. She went to the city with one dream, to make them proud. But she didn't know the woman who promised to help her was secretly involved in trafficking young girls. When she refused to sell her body, she was kicked out, homeless and hopeless. She wandered the streets, hawking water just to survive. Then one day, deep in the bush, she stumbled on a dying man, shot and left for dead by gunmen. She didn't realize this man was a billionaire, and saving him would completely change her life. You don't want to miss this powerful, emotional, life-changing story filled with lessons that stay with you. So sit back, relax, and grab your popcorn. Let's dive into this unforgettable journey. And if you're just tuning in, please subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and don't forget to give this story a thumbs up if it touches your heart. The morning sun hadn't even appeared, yet Ochanya was already at the construction site, her hands white with cement, her back soaked in sweat. She was the only woman among dozens of men, yet she outworked all of them. Her headscarf was tied tight, her palms blistered, her jeans torn at the knees. But she didn't care. She couldn't afford to. She was working to keep her father alive. Ochanya was just 22, but hardship had aged her spirit. Her father, Oche, once a proud school teacher, now lay bedridden in their tiny mud home in Otukpo, Benue State. A strange illness had struck him 2 years earlier. Since then, he had wasted away, his body frail and his voice weak. Her mother, Mama Ochanya, stayed by his side day and night, washing him, feeding him, praying for a miracle. That miracle never came. So Ochanya became the miracle they prayed for. She dropped out of school, grabbed a shovel, and joined a building crew. While other girls her age chased weddings and selfies, Ochanya mixed sand and cement, lifting blocks heavier than her dreams. "Wettin' this fine girl dey fine for sight?" One worker jeered. "Na man she be?" Another laughed. "Her power done past my own." But Ochanya ignored them. Every drop of sweat was for Papa. Every blister was a sacrifice. And every naira she earned went straight to medicine and food. That afternoon, as the sun scorched the red earth under her feet, a black SUV rolled up beside the site. Its tires kicked up a cloud of dust, pulling every eye. Out stepped a woman in lace, gold jewelry clinking at each move. Her sunglasses screamed Abuja money. Her perfume trailed behind her like power. "Madam Sade?" the workers murmured. Ochanya glanced up, her hand still gripping a bucket of cement. Madam Sade tilted her head, puzzled. "Is that a girl?" She walked over, her high heels sinking slightly into the sand. "You, what's your name?" Ochanya dropped the bucket and wiped her face with the hem of her shirt. "Ochanya, Ma." "You're a woman and you do this kind of work?" "Yes, Ma." Madam Sade studied her for a long moment. "You're strong." "I like that. And you're very beautiful, even with cement all over you." Ochanya smiled shyly. "Thank you, Ma. What would you say if I told you I could change your life?" Ochanya blinked. "Change my life, Ma? I live in Abuja. I run businesses. I help girls like you. Come with me. I'll give you a job 10 times better than this. You won't carry blocks again." Ochanya's hands trembled slightly. She had never heard such words. "You mean it?" Madam Sade nodded. "I see potential in you." That night, Ochanya could hardly contain her excitement. She rushed home, face shining. Her mother was feeding Oche pap when she burst in. "Mama, Papa, Madam Sade said she'll take me to Abuja." Her mother dropped the spoon. "Abuja? She said she'll give me a better job, more money, no more block carrying. She said she sees potential in me." Her father coughed weakly. Ochanya, be careful. She's from our place, Papa. Madame Sade. She helps people. I have to try for you, for Mama. That night, nobody slept. Mama Ochanya sat on the floor, crying quietly. Her only child, her backbone, heading to the city. Papa called Ochanya close and placed a shaking hand on her head. My daughter, may you never be disgraced. May the city favor you. May you return greater than you left. Ochanya nodded, holding back tears. I'll make you proud. By morning, the whole compound watched as Madame Sade's SUV arrived. Ochanya hugged her father tightly. I'll come back with money for your treatment, she whispered. Her mother held her, weeping into her shoulder. Don't let the city change your heart. Ochanya got into the car. As the SUV pulled away, she looked out the window and saw her parents grow smaller and smaller. She didn't know it yet, but the city wasn't ready to welcome her. It was ready to break her. The drive to Abuja was long and hot, but Ochanya barely noticed. Her eyes stayed on the windows. She had never left Benue before. Every town they passed, every billboard, every tall building felt like a step into a new world, a better world. Madame Sade spoke little. She scrolled her phone and fired off short, sharp business calls. No, transfer it now. I don't want excuses, she snapped. Ochanya sat quietly beside her, trying not to fidget, her bag tucked beneath her feet. When they finally entered Abuja, it felt like a dream. Towers scraped the sky. The roads were wide and bustling. The traffic was chaotic, but alive. Everywhere people hurried after something. It was nothing like dusty Otukpo. Ochanya's heart fluttered with hope. Maybe, just maybe, her life was about to change forever. Madame Sade's car turned into a gated estate in Asokoro. It was more beautiful than anything Ochanya had ever seen. High walls, electric gates, shining pavements, trimmed lawns. They pulled into a driveway and stopped in front of a large ivory duplex with flower beds that looked like a movie scene. The driver opened the door and Ochanya stepped out, clutching her small bag. Welcome to your new life, Madame Sade said, smiling. Inside the house, it felt like walking into a palace. Marble tiles, giant chandeliers, couches so soft they swallowed you when you sat. Ochanya stood still, eyes wide, afraid to touch anything. You'll stay here with me for now, Madame Sade said, handing her a towel. Go freshen up. There's food in the fridge. Ochanya could hardly believe it. She bathed in a bathroom with hot water. She ate rice with chicken. Not the bony village kind, but fat, juicy legs. That night, she slept on a real mattress with clean sheets, no mosquitoes, no bucket by the bed. She cried quietly, not from sadness, but from hope. By morning, she woke early, dressed neatly, and waited for Madame Sade. But no talk of work came. Instead, Madame Sade told her, relax, enjoy yourself. You've worked too hard all your life. Let Abuja pamper you a little. Ochanya nodded, unsure but grateful. One day passed, then 2, then 4, then a week. No job, no explanation. She watched TV, scrolled the internet, helped tidy the house here and there, but restlessness grew. Every day she waited was another day her father went without treatment. One evening, she finally asked, Ma, please, when will I start the job you promised? Madame Sade smiled from the couch, sipping red wine. Tonight. Ochanya blinked. Tonight? Yes, your first assignment comes this evening. Be ready. Ochanya bowed. Thank you, Ma. She rushed to her room and ironed the only decent dress she owned. In her heart, she assumed it was a night shift. Maybe hotel front desk, a cleaner, even a night security post. It didn't matter. She was ready. At 8 p.m., Madame Sade knocked and walked in with a shopping bag. "Wear this," she said, tossing it on the bed. Ochanya opened the bag and her heart dropped. Inside was a tiny red dress, barely any fabric, just straps and tight curves. She looked up. "Ma, I don't understand." Madame Sade's tone hardened. "You're going out with a guest. He paid for you." "Put it on." Ochanya froze. "Paid for me?" "Yes, he likes fresh village girls. Don't act clueless. You're not here to cook and clean." "This is Abuja." Ochanya's voice shook. "But I thought you were giving me a real job." Madame Sade slammed her wine glass on the table. "This is the job, and you'll make 10 times your bricklayer pay in one night. Just smile and be sweet." Ochanya stepped back. "I can't. I'm not a prostitute." "Then get out," Madame Sade said coldly. "Now take your bag and go." Ochanya stood rooted. Outside at this time in a strange city. "Out!" Madame Sade screamed. "You think I'm running a charity? You think I fed you for free? Get out before I call security." Ochanya grabbed her nylon bag, heart pounding, no shoes, no money, no idea where she was. The gate banged behind her. She stood on the dark, quiet street, Abuja's lights suddenly cold and cruel. Hours earlier, she was full of hope. Now she was homeless in a city that didn't care if she lived or died. The iron gate crashed shut again with a loud clang that echoed along the empty road. Ochanya stood frozen on the curb outside Madame Sade's mansion, holding nothing but a worn nylon bag with her clothes and a cracked old phone with no SIM card. The street was quiet, except for distant honks and the hum of a nearby transformer. She had no idea where she was. Hours earlier, she was watching Netflix on a soft couch in an air-conditioned room eating fried rice. Now she was barefoot in Abuja's cold night, confused, scared, and ashamed. The dress on her barely covered her thighs. Her braids were loose. Her voice shook. "God, what did I do wrong?" She thought of her father sick and waiting, her mother believing she was safe. If only they knew their daughter was now stranded with nowhere to go in a city that didn't know her name. She walked without knowing her destination. And a state guard hissed, "Where you they go like this?" "You no be one of those local thieves, I be." She didn't answer. She kept moving, hugging herself tight. Abuja's streets at night were not friendly, especially to girls like her. Men slowed their cars, windows down, offering rides. Others threw crude words at her. One man trailed her for 3 streets, whispering, "You fine past those Instagram girls. Enter motor, make I treat you like queen." She ran. At last she found an empty bus stop shelter and curled on the bench. It didn't last. Near midnight, a group of area boys arrived, reeking of alcohol. "Wetting this one they do here?" One slurred. Another laughed. "Maybe she go follow us tonight." Ochanya sprang up and fled again. By 2 a.m., she crouched beside a locked kiosk, using her bag as a pillow and her wrapper as a blanket. The ground was cold and mosquitoes feasted on her legs. Her stomach growled, her back ached. Tears slid down her cheeks, but she wiped them off angrily. "I won't cry," she whispered. "I'm not weak." Inside, she was breaking. By dawn, sweepers began clearing the streets. Ochanya stood, dusted her wrapper, and rinsed her face at a leaking roadside pipe. A woman selling by the curb stared at her with suspicion, but said nothing. She had no money. She remembered Madame Sade's last words, "Get out before I call security." That woman had lured her from the village with promises of a better life, only to try to sell her like a piece of meat. The thought made Ochanya tremble with anger. She made one decision that morning. she would rather starve than sell her body. She started knocking on doors. From one shop to another, she pleaded, "Please, Ma, I need a cleaning job. Anything. I can wash, I can sweep." Most ignored her. Some men told her to come back. "Wear a short skirt next time," one added with a wink. A boutique owner seemed kind at first. He told her to wait inside, then slowly locked the door and leaned in. "I fit give you 20,000 today. Just spend one night with me." Ochanya bolted out before he finished. By evening, her legs were swollen from walking all day. Her throat burned. Her stomach was empty. She sat beneath a bridge, surrounded by street boys and beggars. Some of them smoked. One girl was breastfeeding a baby. Another was laughing to herself like someone lost. Ochanya curled into a corner, using her wrapper as a cover, ignoring the rats that scurried nearby. Through clenched teeth, she whispered, "I won't die here. I will survive this. I will make Papa proud. I will." That night, despite the fear, the stench, and the loneliness, Ochanya made a vow. No matter how long it took, she would rise, but never, never would she sell herself to do it. By the fourth morning of sleeping under the bridge, Ochanya stopped believing anyone would come to rescue her. She realized hope was a luxury she could no longer afford. Her body had grown lean. The softness in her cheeks had vanished. Her once glowing dark skin looked dusty and dry from days under the sun and nights in the wind, yet her spirit refused to break. That morning, she joined a cluster of street hawkers gathered near a kiosk. They balanced buckets packed with cold sachet water, pure water. Ochanya watched them. Girls her age, some even younger, carried basins on their heads, weaving through Abuja traffic and shouting, "Water for 50 naira! Buy your cold water!" A sharp-eyed girl with a quick tongue noticed Ochanya standing there. "You just a look, wan sell or wan beg?" she asked. "I want to sell," Ochanya answered softly. The girl, Chinwe, scanned her from head to toe. "You get money to buy water?" Ochanya shook her head. Chinwe hissed, "Then find another way to survive." An old woman roasting plantain nearby cut in. "Give her one bucket. Make she try. If she'd no return your money, curse her." Reluctantly, Chinwe handed Ochanya a small bowl stacked with cold sachets. "If you sell finish, bring 800 naira. The rest na your own, spoil my water. You go see Wahala." Ochanya nodded and lifted the bowl onto her head. The first time she stepped into the road, her hands trembled. Horns blared, bus drivers barked, conductors rained insults. A man laughed and walked off, muttering, "Pride go kill you." But Ochanya wasn't proud. She was desperate, desperate to keep the only thing she had left, her dignity. Some nights, police came and chased them away, yelling, "Clear here! You won't turn this bridge to bedroom." She would run clutching her wrapper and bucket, hiding behind kiosks. Other nights, the rain poured without warning, drenching everything. She curled beneath an abandoned table, hugging her legs for warmth, whispering prayers into the wind. Still, she sold water by day, and by night she refused to sell herself. Some of the other girls mocked her. "You dey form saint, whose sainthood help for Abuja?" She kept quiet, but inside she clung to her vow like oxygen. One night, after a long day of hawking, Ochanya sat under the bridge, staring up at the sky. The stars blinked faintly through the city haze. She whispered, "God, I know you see me. Don't forget me. Please don't let this be my end." She didn't know that the very next day, while trying to relieve herself in the bushes behind the highway, that prayer would be answered in the most unexpected way. It was a hot, dusty afternoon. Abuja traffic had stretched for miles, and the sun pressed down hard, burning every bit of exposed skin. Ochanya wove between the parked cars on the expressway, calling, "Pure water, cold water, 50 naira." Her bowl was half empty, her throat dry, her shoulders aching. She hadn't eaten all day. As the cars finally began to move, a sharp pressure in her stomach made her stop. She needed a toilet urgently, but there were no public restrooms nearby, and even if there were, she had no money to pay. She looked around nervously, then remembered the bushy patch behind the highway, a forgotten strip of green crowded with weeds and litter. Clutching her bowl tight, she walked quickly toward it. Under the shade of the trees, she crouched behind a thick bush, trying to finish fast. The smell of wet soil and rotten trash filled the air. Just as she finished and adjusted her wrapper, she heard it, a voice faint, broken, far off. "Help! Please, somebody, help me!" Ochanya froze. She turned her head slowly, heart pounding. The voice came again, "Please don't let me die." Fear and curiosity wrestled inside her. Carefully, she tiptoed toward the sound. The bushes rustled under her feet. Her heartbeat thudded louder with each step, and then she saw him. Behind a pile of old tires lay a man in a torn suit. His white shirt was soaked with blood. His hands were tied behind him. His legs were bound. His face was swollen, and a deep cut on his forehead oozed. His lips trembled. His chest rose and fell slowly, struggling. Ochanya gasped. She dropped her bowl and ran to him. The man's eyes fluttered open. When he saw her, he whispered, "Please, don't let me die." Then he passed out. Ochanya stood there stunned, her mind racing. What was this? Who was he? Was it a setup? A trap? But something deep inside her moved. This man was dying. He needed help. Without thinking, she bent down and tried to lift him. He was heavy, at least twice her weight, but adrenaline and desperation gave her strength. Inch by inch, she dragged him through the grass until they reached the edge of the road. Taxis sped by without stopping. She stepped into the lane, waving wildly. "Please help me! Please!" Most drivers honked and swerved. Some stared and kept going. At last, a dusty old cab screeched to a halt. "Waitin' be this?" the driver barked. "Please, sir, help me." "He's dying. Take us to the nearest hospital, please." The driver stared at the unconscious man. "You go fit pay me?" "I'll pay, I swear." "Just go." Ochanya helped the driver lift the man into the back seat. She climbed in beside him, held his hand, and prayed under her breath. "Don't die, sir. Please don't die at the hospital gate," the taxi driver demanded. 1,500 naira. Ochanya opened her bag. She had only 1,100, everything she made that day. "Please, sir, this is all I have." The driver eyed her, hissed, then drove off. Inside the emergency ward, the nurses barely looked up. "Is he a relative?" one asked. "No, but he's dying," she said. "Where is his deposit?" "I don't have any money left." "But he needs help." The nurse shook her head. "No deposit, no treatment." Ochanya's voice cracked. "Please, please don't let him die. He was tied up and dumped in the bush today. He has nobody." She fell to her knees. After several minutes of begging, the doctor finally appeared. He checked the man's pulse and shouted, "We need to stabilize him now." "But sir," the nurse said, "we need blood." "His type is O positive and our bank is empty." "I'll give him mine," Ochanya said without thinking. They stared at her. "Are you sure?" "Yes, take it." Within minutes, a needle was in her arm. Blood drained from her already weak body into a bag. She felt dizzy, lightheaded, But she didn't care. This man, this stranger, had to live. "God," she whispered, "if this is my purpose, I accept it." An hour later, as she sat on a bench in the hallway, her vision blurred, her head tipped, and she collapsed. Her body hit the floor with a soft thud. A nurse rushed over. "The girl who brought him just fainted." "Give her glucose. She hasn't eaten in days," the doctor shouted. And inside the ER, the man began to stir. Ochanya crumpled like a felled tree. One moment, she was sitting weakly outside the emergency ward, watching the world spin into lights and white walls. The next, everything went black. "Madam! Nurse!" A passerby yelled as her limp body struck the cold hospital floor. A nurse dashed in and knelt beside her. "She's burning up. Blood pressure is low. Pulse is weak," another called. "She donated blood just now," a doctor shouted from the ER. "Start an IV immediately." The nurses lifted Ochanya gently onto a gurney and wheeled her into a separate ward. They slid a drip into her fragile vein. Her skin was cold, her lips dry, her heartbeat faint. "Who is she?" one nurse asked. "She's the one who brought the man tied up in the bush," another replied. "She paid the taxi. She begged us to treat him, and now she's collapsed like this. No family, no ID, no phone, nothing. Yet she gave blood to save a stranger. Who does that in Abuja?" Meanwhile, in the emergency theater, the man she had rescued, the one she dragged out of the bush, paid for with her last 1 naira, and gave her blood, finally opened his eyes. The ECG beeped steadily. His eyelids fluttered, adjusting to the harsh lights above. His throat scraped like sandpaper. He tried to speak, but it came out a rasp. Water?" A nurse leaned in. "You're in the hospital, sir." "You're safe?" The man glanced around, confused. "What happened?" "You were found tied and bleeding in the bush. You've been unconscious for nearly 4 hours. A girl brought you here. She saved your life." He blinked. "A girl?" "She's in the next ward now. She collapsed after donating blood for your transfusion." He struggled to sit up. "Take me to her." "Sir, you just regained—" "I said take me to her," he growled. His voice was weak, but the tone carried power, authority. The nurse hesitated, sensing this was no ordinary patient. With shaky legs, he stepped down from the bed, still in his torn, blood-stained clothes. The drip line on his hand swayed as he shuffled to the next ward, led by the nurse. The door creaked open. There she was, Ochanya, lying on a hospital bed, face pale, an IV taped to her arm. Her wrapper was still stained from the bush. She looked so fragile it seemed she could fade into the sheets. He stood in the doorway for a long, breathless beat. Then he moved forward slowly, painfully, until he stood beside her. He whispered, "You saved me?" His voice broke. Ochanya stirred, her eyelids fluttering. She looked confused at first, then focused on him. "You're awake?" she murmured. "I am," he said, easing himself into the chair by her bed. "Because of you." She tried to sit up, but he stopped her gently. "Don't move. You're weak. I thought you were going to die," she breathed. He turned his face away for a moment. "I almost did. But you dragged me out of the bush, flagged a taxi, paid with your last money, begged these doctors, and even gave me your blood." Ochanya lowered her eyes. "I couldn't leave you there." "I just couldn't." "Why?" he asked softly. Tears gathered. "Because even if nobody notices me, I still have a heart." The words hit him like thunder. He sat there stunned. This girl, thin, homeless, barefoot, nameless, had shown more humanity than anyone in his world had in years. I promise you, he said, voice trembling with conviction, your life will never be the same again. A man in a black suit burst into the room out of breath. Sir, thank God we found you. Everyone's been searching. He raised a hand. Later, Yusuf. Later. The suited man nodded and stayed by the door, staring at Ochanya in confusion. He turned back to her. What's your name? She hesitated. Ochanya, from Benue. He reached out a hand. Ochanya, I am Alhaji Kabiru Danladi, chairman of Danladi Group. From this moment, I owe you my life. Ochanya stared at the man sitting beside her bed, unsure she'd heard right. Alhaji Kabiru Danladi. The name wasn't strange to her. Even on the streets, people whispered about him. The tech tycoon who built Danladi Group from nothing, one of the richest men in Nigeria, a private figure, a media mystery, a giant in business. And now that man sat here in torn clothes, wounds still fresh, his eyes filled with something she never expected from a billionaire, gratitude. You don't know what you've done for me, he said, voice husky but steady. Ochanya looked down at her fingers and whispered, I only did what I'd hoped someone would do for my father if he were in that state. Alhaji Kabiru nodded slowly. He turned to his assistant still at the doorway. Yusuf, settle the bills, everything. Yes, sir. Yusuf hurried out. Behind the curtains, the nurses had already begun whispering. That's Alhaji Danladi, the real one. She saved him, that girl. People gasped. Alhaji Kabiru looked back at her. You still look weak. You need food, real food. Ochanya managed a faint smile. I'll be fine. No, you won't just be fine, he said gently. Ochanya, you gave me your blood. The least I can give you is a new life. She blinked, stunned by the weight of his promise. Was this still real or a strange, sweet dream shaped by hunger and exhaustion? By evening, Yusuf returned with a nurse pushing a tray, fresh fruit juice, jollof rice, fried plantain, grilled fish, and warm water. Ochanya stared at it like she was looking at treasure. Alhaji Kabiru smiled. Please eat. She didn't hesitate. With each bite, the hunger melted from her bones, and for the first time in weeks, she felt human again. As the fourth line emptied into her vein, she finally relaxed against the pillow, but questions still burned in her chest. Sir, how did you end up like that? She asked quietly. Alhaji Kabiru drew a deep breath. I was kidnapped. Ochanya gasped. He continued, It was planned. My car was blocked. My driver is gone. They blindfolded me and took me to an unknown place. They beat me for days and demanded 50 million naira. Did you pay? He nodded. Yusuf handled it. They got the money, but after that they chose to kill me anyway, said I was a risk. They drugged me, tied me up, and dumped me in the bush to die. Ochanya's eyes widened. They left you like that. They believed I wouldn't make it. Honestly, I didn't think I would either, until you came. She was quiet for a long moment, then said, You were meant to live, sir. God still has work for you. He studied her, and maybe you are part of that work. She shifted, unsure how to answer. Moments later, a team of private security arrived. Alhaji stepped outside to speak with them. Yusuf stayed with Ochanya. The young man eyed her curiously. Do you know who you really saved? Ochanya smiled weakly. I'm beginning to see. Yusuf lowered his voice. Alhaji is not just rich. He's powerful, connected. People fight to get close to him, and you dragged him out of a bush with your bare hands. Ochanya looked away. I didn't do it for money. I did it because it was right. Yusuf nodded slowly. and that's why it matters. Soon Al-Haji returned, now dressed in clean clothes from his team. Still simple, but sharp, like the man in the headlines again. He turned to Ochanya. "Get ready. We leave the hospital tomorrow. You're coming with me." Ochanya's eyes widened. "Sir, I can't. I don't even know where." He raised a hand. "Just say yes." She stared at him speechless, tears rising. "Yes," she whispered. That night, lying on the hospital bed, she couldn't sleep. Not from fear, but because, for the first time in a long time, tomorrow didn't scare her. The next morning, Ochanya was discharged. She wore a simple floral gown Yusuf bought the night before with brand new slippers. Her hair, still rough and uncombed, was tied into a bun. She looked like a girl still catching up with herself, but there was a new light in her eyes, a quiet flame of hope. At the entrance, Al-Haji waited with his security team in a sleek black Range Rover. When Ochanya stepped out, he opened the door himself. "Let's go home," he said. "Home?" She didn't understand what he meant until they arrived. The car rolled up to a sprawling white mansion in Maitama, wrapped by high marble walls, security cameras, and a polished iron gate that slid open on its own. A lush garden stretched like a royal court with trimmed hedges and golden fountains. Ochanya stood frozen as she stepped out, clutching her small nylon bag that still held her only 2 old wrappers. She couldn't believe her eyes. The house looked like a palace. A uniformed maid opened the glass door and bowed slightly. "Welcome, sir." "Welcome, madam." Ochanya's heart skipped. Inside, it was even more unreal. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, imported Italian tiles mirrored her bare feet, paintings lined the walls, and soft music drifted in the background. "This is your house?" she asked, stunned. "Yes," Al-Haji Kabiru said with a small smile, "and it's your home now, too." Ochanya turned quickly. "No, sir, I can't live here. I'm not. You saved my life. I can't repay that with just words, no, but you will rest here. You will be safe. You will eat and sleep in peace. It's the least you deserve." Her eyes burned. She had never even lived in a house with a working ceiling fan, let alone air conditioning and imported art. A maid guided her upstairs to a guest room. The room was larger than her family's entire home, with a king-size bed dressed in white silk sheets, a bathroom with a hot shower and rose-scented soap, a vanity stocked with lotion she couldn't even pronounce. Ochanya stood in the center, frozen, unsure whether to sit or stand. "Ma," the maid said gently, "you can bathe." "I'll bring food." Ochanya nodded. In the bathroom, she stared at her reflection. Her face looked thin, her eyes tired, but a smile crept in. For the first time in forever, it was real and full. After bathing, she slipped into a comfortable gown and was called downstairs to the dining room. A 3-course meal waited. Chicken in creamy sauce, basmati rice, fresh orange juice, clean utensils. Ochanya ate slowly, unsure which fork to use, but no one laughed. No one judged. Later that afternoon, Al-Haji invited her to the garden. The air was calm. Birds chirped from fruit trees. A marble table sat in the middle with 2 chairs. Ochanya took her seat carefully. Al-Haji sat opposite. His tone softened, almost fatherly. "Tell me about yourself." Ochanya hesitated. "There's not much to tell." "Try me." She began slowly. She spoke about her father, a retired teacher, now bedridden and ill. Her mother who worked like a donkey to feed them. The bricklayer job she took to keep them alive. And finally, "Madam Said said she'd give me a job." She lied. When I refused to sleep with the man she brought, she threw me out. Al-Haji's eyes darkened. That woman, she will pay for what she did to you. I don't care about her anymore, Ochanya said. I just want to help my parents. My father's health is failing. We couldn't afford blood tests, let alone treatment. Al-Haji was quiet for a long moment, then spoke softly. What if I told you I could fly your father abroad for treatment? Ochanya's head snapped up. Sir, I'll arrange everything. Full medical care, private hospital, flights, your mother too if needed. Ochanya covered her mouth. The tears rushed out. But why? Why are you doing all this for me? She asked. He met her eyes. Because you gave me what no one else did. Humanity. When I had nothing, not even a name, you saved me. He stood and walked toward the entrance. Oh, and one more thing. He returned with a small black suitcase and set it gently before her. She opened it. $200,000 in cash. Ochanya gasped, her chest tight. She stepped back, shaking. I can't take this. You can and you will. Use it to build a future not just for yourself, but for your family, for every girl who thinks dignity can't survive poverty. Ochanya sank into the chair, trembling. She had no words, only tears, the kind that come when pain finally meets peace. That afternoon, the sun filtered softly through the mango trees in Al-Haji Kabiru's garden, laying a warm gold over the marble and the blooming flowers. Birds sang in the background, but Ochanya noticed none of it. She sat at one side of the white garden table, the open briefcase still before her, like a dream she couldn't wake from. Tears streamed down her face, not from hurt, but from deep gratitude. Across from her, Al-Haji Kabiru watched quietly. He didn't interrupt. He understood the weight of that moment. Long ago, someone had given him his first chance, and he had cried like this too. Ochanya finally looked up. Sir, you don't know what this means to me. Al-Haji leaned back. Maybe not, but I know what you mean to me. You saved my life when you had no reason to, and you asked for nothing. Ochanya shook her head. I just didn't want you to die. I didn't even know you were rich. He smiled. Exactly. He continued. Tomorrow morning, my jet will be ready. Your parents will fly to India for full medical treatment. You'll go with them. It's all arranged? Ochanya covered her mouth, shaking her head in disbelief. Your father deserves a real chance to live, and your mother deserves rest. You gave me a second chance at life, Ochanya. Now I'm giving you one. She rose slowly, walked around the table, and dropped to her knees before him. Al-Haji lifted her gently. No, you don't kneel to me. Stand tall. You've survived. You're stronger than most people I know. She looked into his eyes. Thank you, sir. Before she could say more, he set another item on the table. A deed. House papers. 3-bedroom bungalow, yours, title in your name. You will never be homeless again. Ochanya froze. Sir, this is too much. Not for someone who gave blood on an empty stomach, for a man she didn't even know. There was a long, peaceful hush. Ochanya stepped back and looked up at the sky. Clouds drifted slowly. Just days ago, she was hawking water, dodging area boys sleeping under a bridge. Now she stood in a billionaire's garden, holding keys to a new life. She whispered, Papa, you'll finally get the help you need. The tears returned, but not bitter, full of joy, of healing, of God. Al-Haji Kabiru looked at her with the steady pride of a father. This isn't charity, Ochanya. This is a harvest. You planted kindness, and now you're reaping destiny. As the garden breeze rustled the leaves, Ochanya drew a deep breath and whispered, Thank you, God. for this miracle. With that, her story, once marked by hardship, betrayal, and suffering, turned its final page into something greater: redemption. Moral of the story: kindness and integrity are never ignored. Even when the world turns away, holding on to your values will lead you to destiny. Ochanya's journey proves that dignity in the face of struggle is powerful, and a single act of compassion can open doors that money cannot. We hope you enjoyed this moving story. Please share your thoughts and the lessons you took in the comments below. And guess what? Another inspiring and educative story is coming your way in a few days. So make sure to subscribe and turn on your notification bell so you'll be the first to watch when it drops. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like the video and share it with friends and family. Thank you so much for watching. Stay inspired and God bless you.